Hello, hello, hello. Thank you. Great. Welcome. 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 Great, great. Okay. Okay, I suppose once we reach like 12 people joined, I will start the proceedings, as it were. We have, yes, Max, welcome. Hello. So Kizwa Vana, organizer of this whole shebang, is with us. Wave. Thank you. Thank you for being on time. Yes. Bonjour, bonjour, Max. Welcome. Hello, Shona Tiger. Hello, Paula. Okay, I see about 7 people. I don't know if we have more than that. Well, hello, hello. Why does this thing say report? I'm not reporting. I'm saying I'm waving. Hello, Leia Denle. Hello, Troy. Okay, so welcome to this session of Afrolit Songs Frontières. My name is Molara Wood, as you may have gleaned from the notices put out very kindly by James Murua. And I'm very happy to be here, Leia. I'm very, very happy to be here. This is great. I'm looking forward to enjoying this. I will be joined later by Edwidge Dro, who will be joining me in a conversation. So I think maybe what I will do is start with a reading from my collection of short stories, Indigo. Before I do that, I'd like to really say thank you so much to Zukizwa Vana, the organizer of this festival. I hadn't joined, I had resisted joining Instagram for a number of years, and I joined Instagram because of this festival, because I just had to be part of it. And having joined the many sessions, hello babes, having joined the many sessions, yes, thank you, thank you, thank you. We brought it, we brought it. So having joined the many sessions and, the despair that I was feeling over the coronavirus pandemic, I was in such a dark hole with that. But this festival and just being able to commune with creatives, fellow creatives and writers through this festival on Instagram, which is also a lot less toxic than Twitter, it's really been very good for me, and I'm sure it has been for so many other people who have been part of this festival. And I think for starting this, Zuki really is a visionary, and I want to say, well done, girl. So I shall do my reading from Indigo, my collection of short stories. It's many years old now. People now take pleasure in tormenting me by saying, can people hear me, by the way? Please say if you can hear me, because can you hear me? Can people hear me? Can people hear me? Please say yes or wave if you can hear me. Oh, great, great. Okay, so Afrolit saved my life. Yes, Afrolit. Remember that song, Leia Denle? Last night the DJ saved my life. Well, Afrolit. Thank you. You like the hair. Thank you. We brought it. The hair is actually the same as that young lady over there. But hey, never mind. Thank you. Thank you so much. So I'll read. So many people now see me. They say, when is the next book? When is the next book? Because this came out in 2013. Well, they're challenging me to really do something. But for now, we'll read from Indigo, my collection of short stories. So, and the story I'm going to read from is Kelemo's Woman. And I think the section that I'm going to read is self-explanatory. And if there's anything that needs to be, delved into further, I'm sure Edwidge will tease all of that out later. So I'm going to start reading now from Kelemo's Woman, which is a short story in the collection Indigo. And I'm reading from somewhere in the middle. The countryside zips by in strips of rushing greenery on both sides of the road. The curfew has taken hold. Towns look deserted, their inhabitants harassed into their homes, and everywhere the fatigued presence of soldiers. Hyenas in camouflage, they prowl to keep the nation compliant. The radio informs that crack teams of military officers have been sent to scour locations suspected to harbor subversives. Nimke is one such location, and I am in the clutches of one crack team. The army jeep gobbles the miles and subdues the potholed road that runs west to the state capital. There are officers in the seats behind me. Now and then I catch the driver spying on me in the rearview mirror. I hold his gaze steadily till he looks away, discomfited. I smile to myself and steal a quick glance at the senior officer in the front passenger seat. The brigadier has not looked back since we left Nimke. A stream of news spews from the jeep's radio. New government structures are in place, and shadowy persons who will now steer our nation's destiny are stepping out of the anonymity of their barracks. 2 decrees are announced. The Constitution is illegal. New laws being made as though on the hoof. Kelemo had been gone nearly an hour when the corporal kicked our door open. There were other activists to confer with, underground systems to be reactivated. It was war, and Kelemo saw himself on the front lines to liberate our country from the military, to re-establish democracy, however flawed. He kissed me roughly. With one last look from the doorway, he was gone. I rolled onto my back and studied the damp stains in the ceiling. My role in the struggle ahead was mapped out for me. I knew the drill. I would support as the loyal partner to the courageous, self-sacrificing activist. There were many hardships in this activist's life, but I was secure in the knowledge that the only thing Kelemo loved more than me was the motherland. We had a bond, he and I. I knew this, as did my mother. Mother realized she would not live to see me wed Kelemo, and so on her deathbed, she entrusted us to each other 6 months before the coup. Kelemo then left the hospital room in search of the administrative office to pay her medical bill. Mother drew her last breath while Kelemo was gone, and so he was not privy to her final words. They were never meant for his ears, anyhow. Iriola, Mother's voice was hoarse, her breathing labored. You have no father, and now you will have no mother. She allowed a dramatic pause. Iriola, this country of ours cannot be helped. No matter what the likes of Kelemo do, no matter the sacrifice, this country can come to no good. No good, you hear me? Another pause. Her eyes burned into mine from sockets deep in her shrunken face. The light in those eyes tormented me with a vision of an end that lurked for me in some dingy hideout someplace. Mother spoke to steer me away from that end. Iriola, trust no one. Allow yourself to be pulled down by no one. I mean no one. Don't be like me, slaving all my life to stand by men, and for what? To die of a wasting disease before my time? Iriola, I beg of you, If the house is falling or the boat is sinking, secure for yourself a safe landing, a comfortable patch. Now you will have no mother. The person to watch over you is you. Mother allowed herself another pause, a lasting pause. Thank you. So let's see. So I'm done with the reading. Let's see if Edwidge pops up, and so that she can join me and we can take this to the next level. Remy joins the chat and the chat suddenly starts freezing. Why am I not surprised? Why am I not surprised? The king of the Afrolit. Thank you, Frankie. Frankie, do you remember me? So we're waiting for Edwidge. Or is she here and I just haven't seen her? Love you too, love you too. Remy, you have not seen anything, as we say in Nigeria. Disrespect, go. Disrespect me. You have not seen anything. Wait until the day I lay eyes on you. For what you have done in the comments of this festival. Aha. Guess. You will be 15 years out of sync. Remy is the worst. I'm saying nothing about nothing. Yes, I have admitted Edwidge. I'm hoping. My system says we're waiting for her. Thank you, thank you. I'm glad you liked the reading. Thank you, thank you. I have okay. I tried to. Okay, can you please request again, please, please? Is it my 5G or? Can you please request again? Oh my gosh. Okay. It says I'm waiting for you. I don't know why. Truly. I was trained on Twitter, Remy.
Hello.
We have liftoff.
We are here.
Hello, babe.
Hello, Molara. You are looking so well.
Hello, Edwidge. Lovely seeing you.
I know, you too. And you know, I don't know who is asking you when is the next book. We are only finding out about this book in this part of the world. So my question actually is, we need this book in French. We do.
Hello.
Hi. Can you hear me?
Hello.
Hi.
Yes, I can hear you. Let me. I can hear you. Yes.
Yes, I was saying we need this book in French. Where are the French translators?
Well, French translators were calling out. We're calling out to you, French translators. Please help. These characters need to speak in French. Yes.
They do. No, yes. Seriously, they do. And I love, this is my favorite story from the book that you read.
Thank you.
Yeah, it is just great. And that mother, we thank God for the mothers. For the mothers who are willing to be vulnerable.
Yes.
Oh, somebody's already asking questions. You people. Well, BC is asking, how do you make time for your own writing now that you're an editor?
Well, the thing is that I've always been an editor. I've been an editor for many, many years. I've edited many books. I've edited a newspaper section. I've edited journals and magazines. So it's something that I've been doing for a long time. Hello, Maza. Hello, Maza. It's something that I've been doing for a long time. And so obviously it's more concentrated work with reader now. I mean, for example, I've edited the last 4 editions of Ake Review, for instance. So I've always been an editor, but it's a fair question, like how do I juggle that, and how do I balance that and have time for my writing? It's a real dilemma, because it's not just with the editing, because I first started writing. I hope you can hear me.
I can.
Edwidge, can you hear me?
I can. Yes, I can.
Okay, great. Because I first went into publication really as a journalist and as someone who wrote about other people's artistic productions, especially writing. Visual artists is something I still do. And so I constantly write about the work of other people. And this can mean, and before you can you review any book, you've got to read the whole thing to the end. You've got to think about it. You've got to make notes. You've got to, you know, you might even have additional reading to support what you're going to write. So it's difficult, because you do see fellow writers who they concentrate on their work 100% and that's it. But it's the way it is. But I try to find a balance. I don't always strike that balance. And I think that when people ask me, oh, where is the follow-up to Indigo? This is also partly the reason. Not only am I doing all these other things, but also just being in Nigeria can be exhausting. Just being in Nigeria, and sometimes you're firefighting so much that sometimes if there's no light and the generator broke down, are you going to be able to write that night? So, but we keep at it. It is what it is. So I'll try to keep my answers short. Sorry.
No, I love your answers, Molara. You know, some people feel like they know you, and I just feel like I'm discovering you. You know, are you like this mother then in Kelemo's woman who said that this country of ours cannot be saved? You know. The interesting thing is that I wrote that short story. That short story was first published in Eclectica in 2007. So this is a story that I wrote in the mid-noughties. This is 2020, and it's still quite true in many respects. And there are times when I say to myself that, well, we have to keep trying to save the country. We have to keep trying to save our countries. And my being in Nigeria is part of that endeavor, that expression of faith in the belief that we can do something different. But quite often, the system, this country, this environment, African systems, quite often beat us back and remind us that we're asking the same questions now that we were asking a generation ago. Mm-hmm. And so Riola's mother had a point, is what I would say. Yeah, in fact, as I was reading this story, I was like, my goodness, coups look alike in every country, because we had our first coup d'etat in 1999, and you were, so you say you were writing this story in 2007, and in 2007, our country was split in two.
It was published in 2007, which means that I must have been writing it at least a year before.
Yeah. And our country was split in two, and of course you see these militaries, on the streets, and all
hello, Lola, babes.
Oh, Lola, it is
hello, Lola,
that I met you. So I am thankful and grateful to Lola. So thank you, Lola. Somebody wanted to hear.
I've been hearing of you since Port Harcourt. Actually.
What have you been hearing, may I ask?
No, wonderful things. And then you were in Africa 39, and so yeah.
The 419. So
I do follow your work.
Talk about following works. The podcast, how did it come about? Yeah.
Yes, the podcast had been in my mind for 2 years. Since about 2 years ago, I'd already decided I wanted to start a podcast about the arts. Like I said to you earlier, I write on the arts, visual art, literature, performance, and so on and so forth. And I'm involved in all these different spheres. So it was never going to be a podcast just about writing, although writers would feature, very strongly, but it would be all the other areas where I'm creatively invested also. So for about 2 years, that's been in being an idea, but it was always pushed aside for something else. Like one day, maybe let me do this now. When I finish this now, maybe I'll think about the podcast. And so late last year, I thought it's now or never. And I will say actually that the first podcast I ever saw was S-Town, this one that everyone was raving about, the American one, must have been like 3 years ago. And I really loved it. And I saw Maza Mengiste's essay after it, which actually gave me a different perspective on it. But nonetheless, when I saw it, it blew me away as a piece of storytelling. And I saw what was possible in that kind of audio version. And so I had taken interest in the podcast form since then. And so late last year, I started making small plans towards it. And then the pandemic, the plan was that it would launch at the beginning of March. And then the pandemic happened. And I was, who is calling me, Auntie Molara? Please don't come and disgrace me, Frankie.
What?
So the podcast happened, and I mean the coronavirus happened, the pandemic happened, and it's like the podcast went into the cooler, really. And then recently, Kadria Ahmed called me and said, "So how far with this podcast you've been talking about?" And I said, "Well, I was going to wait until the coronavirus, went back wherever it came from." Yes, I was going to wait, but then
you're very hopeful.
Yes, I realized that I had been too hopeful, because if I thought that the coronavirus would end at the end of April, it didn't. Yeah, so that's how I started making the plans to actually get it out there. Yes.
All right. Okay. Troy I'm like moving between questions. Troy, who is being serious for once, ask that we have
God for that.
I know. I'm very surprised. What is happening? I think
I'm relieved. I'm relieved.
You are. It's because you threatened Remy, so they are all like behaving. But he said, how can we foster a strong editing culture on the continent? Because we have quite a lot of writers already. I'm adding that back. So how do we foster?
Yes, I think that how we can do that, I suppose, through more things like workshops and so on. But I also think that for those who want to be editors, it's something that it's something that you cultivate over a long period of time. I don't think that one masterclass can turn you into a first-rate editor, because with editing, what you're bringing is not just grammar. I say to people that what I have is a feeling for language beyond grammar. I believe I have a feeling for language, and sometimes it works out. And you're also bringing your knowledge of the world. You're bringing your sensibility. And so you need to read widely. You need to be open to the world. You need to be engaged with the world. You need to be engaged with your environment. You need to educate yourself, and you need to, as much as possible, if you have the opportunity to travel, and I'm not necessarily saying Europe or America, travel can be to, other towns where you are, and just be interested in people, in history. So all of these things can help. So I think it's something that you cultivate over a long period of time. and you start, it's about a sensibility and a cultivation, I think, in the main, because anybody can speak grammar. I'm sorry.
Really? Since there are no serious questions, because everybody, and my goodness, okay, I need a drink. Because I was gonna say, since there are no serious questions, because they are saying, is it necessary to have great poise and wonderful earrings? And then you picked up your tea. I know these people are just something else.
Look, the Afrolit should please. Who are these?
So I'm gonna ignore that question or back it and go back to Kelemo's woman, and
yes,
talk about the fact that, as I was reading this book, I noticed that there was no grandstanding of feminist discourse, and yet you are like a feminist. But there is no great feminist discourse that you are bringing out. You are presenting these women as individuals with their flaws, and they are not, being women who providing lessons for other women. They are just being themselves. And I wondered if that was deliberate or if you didn't even think about it.
Well, I think a lot of the feminist ideas that come out of these stories, they're very me, but at the same time, they also happen to be incidental to the stories. So in the first instance, I'm just trying to tell a good story. I'm just trying to tell a story that I hope that people can relate to. And then also going by, I've been studying women all my life. And of course, when I was writing these stories, there was no Twitter. I wasn't on Twitter. So, and I suppose now, if you're on Twitter and Iriola in Kelemo's woman, people might have issues with the things that she did about sex and so on and so forth. But I was more interested in her making choices within the limitations that she was offered. But for me, it's a very feminist story in the sense that whenever you read of coups, military coups, it's a male story. It's a story of men. How many military coups have you read about where they talked about, who is calling me? Frankie, please. Oh, Heavenly Father, Cranky, please. I will answer that question. I will answer that question. So do you get what I mean? So in many ways, it's for me, it's feminist in so many layers, but it's not making any great declarations, because ordinarily for me, women in their lives, I've seen women in so many different settings. I've seen women in small towns. I've seen family members or in polygamous situations. And I've seen the way that they negotiated those and how they have little victories, little or not so little victories. And I was more interested in that very everyday kind of interrelationships. If you know what I mean. There's another story in the Ghanese 4, which is about the man with the 2 wives. I mean, the senior wife could have chosen to leave him at the end, but she didn't. She didn't. And sometimes in life, women don't leave, but they gave him a good beating. That was feminist. I know. And poor guy. Yes. So I don't know if that answers your question.
It does. The Afrolit crew is telling me that we are not at Edinburgh Festival, so I don't need to be asking about Tolstoy. They want to know poetry or cocaine.
Well, these people, Afro-Lita people, I will tell a story. Decades ago, the model Jerry Hall in her heyday, she was arrested somewhere in the Caribbean for possession of drugs. Now, this was before social media. It was newspapers. And also societal attitudes to drugs were a lot stricter then. So this was going to be the great disgrace, the great unmasking. And so she'd been arrested and accused of possession of drugs. And she was actually put in jail, you know. And reporters went, they actually found her, journalists found her. And she said, she denied, of course. And I think later she was acquitted. But she said to the journalist, my only vice is Chanel. Well, you could say she was talking about me. I don't have money for both loads of Chanel, but you could say my only vice is Chanel. So it would have to be poetry, I think. Yeah, it would have to be poetry for me. Sorry to disappoint.
I know, even I am crushed.
My only vice is Chanel, Frankie.
Yeah, Chanel is good, and I like the vocals. Maza is wanting to know if you can talk about visuals, photography, and writing. I suppose the relationship. I've lost the question. Let me have a look.
Lola is asking for my real voice.
Yeah, Lola is asking. I saw that question. I'm not ignoring you, Lola.
Please ignore her.
Oh yeah, tell us your real advice. Tell us your real advice while I look for that question that Maza asked.
I'm sure I have, like, I could drink tea in the desert. I could drink tea in the desert. And that really, really annoys a lot of people. So it is a vice.
We Sorry see you drinking tea now.
It's really a vice.
I have found that questions. She said, Molara gave a great lecture in Brussels not long ago. Can she talk about visual, photography, and writing? This is Maza.
Okay, yes. Maza was in the audience in Brussels, and I still remember, you know, all of us being together there, and it was great. And I look forward to the next time we meet. And my son was there too, and my son wants to read Maza's novel. Yes, for me, film is in my blood. I suppose literature maybe is number one because that's whatever minor gift I was given was to do with being able to write. But film is really, really in my blood. It's in my blood. I'm so deep into film, visual art also. And for me, they are narratives also. I mean, of course, film is literature, is derived from literature. Some books are derived from films. When you're watching a film, dialogue, film is poetry, film is painting. You're watching a film like In the Mood for Love. Every scene is music, is painting, and it's cinema, it's literature. So, and yes, these things, you can look at this and you can formulate a character from there. Now, for instance, this young lady, the day that I collected this in 2014, she and her brother, she has a brother, you know, that I collected in 2014. So the day I collected them from the gallery, my niece and nephew arrived from Ibadan to come and stay with us. So every time I see this, I think of my niece and nephew who are, because I just thought it was an interesting coincidence that they arrived the same day as these boy and girl, at the same day as these two. So they are characters, they are narratives, they are worlds, they're worlds that you can look into and imagine things. So they're all very interconnected for me, and there are also different ways of creating. I think that sometimes maybe if you're having difficulty writing or you're experiencing a writer's block, create a visual art can help snap you out of that. So for me, it's all interconnected. Even though what I personally practice is the scribblers, the scribes, the scribes art. Yeah.
Okay. Zukiswa wants to know if Uncle Mamadou is still demonic. Who is Uncle Mamadou?
Oh my God. Uncle Mamadou is even more demonic than ever.
Who is Mamadou?
Oh, this is a great story. Okay. This is a great story. If Zuki, I'm surprised that Zuki is bringing this out to the world, because Zuki was going to create a character based on Uncle Mamadou. Uncle Zuki, Zwa, and myself, we were once in a bar in Johannesburg with what's our sister's name? Who wrote The Memory of Love. And she was telling us stories. And she talked about her Uncle Mamadou. And apparently her African relatives called her in the UK, and then they said Uncle Mamadou is even more demonic than ever. And we've just never forgotten this thing. And so Uncle Mamadou is a character in either something I'm going to write or that Zukizwa Vanna is going to write. Aminata Fauna.
Yeah.
She's a great conversationist. Aminata Fauna told us this story, and her relative in Sierra Leone called her in the UK and said, Uncle Mamadou is even more demonic than ever. And thanks to Zuki, I'm saying this publicly now.
Good.
Yeah.
So you are stuck on an island with nothing but jollof, water, and free books. Which free books are these?
I would take... I'm sorry?
Can I add my own bit, like with free women, like free books and free women?
Okay, 3 women. Okay, 3 books would be The Kingdom of This World by Alejo Carpentier. I would take the Yoruba Bible, Bibeli Memo, which I love, which I read a lot, and which I think is high literature. I would probably take the poetry collection Rapture by Carol Ann Duffy. If you asked which 30 books, I'm sure I could give you a list, but since you're limiting me to 3, so 3 women, you say. 3 women. I would take Zukizwa Vanna because she's good for a laugh.
Yeah.
She's good for a laugh. I would take Lola Shonenyi if she's not too busy.
She's always busy,
and then I would take my sister and friend Foluke Taylor, who is in the Gambia. She's a writer. She's based in the Gambia. Foluke Taylor. I would take her. Yes.
Super.
If Lola is too busy, then I would take she's in Ghana now. Oh well, yeah. I've named 3, so there, yeah.
Yes, you have. We are talking Ake Review, and we're also asking you, and I'm joining people in asking if you'll be the editor for Afrolit Review. It will feature writers from everywhere. Okay, Lola, you know that too busy for you, so there you go.
Great. Well, you know that I would edit it. Yes, of course.
Oh, James, get that errand running. We have an editor for the Afrolit Review. Okay, so Lola is not busy for you. I'm seeing if I have any questions. Otherwise, people are being mean to me. So when Remy gets the cane, he will donate to Afrolit Review. D'accord. Oh la la. But
okay, somebody asked the question about which 3 books would I burn?
Oh, I didn't see this one.
Yeah. I didn't see it either because I don't want to burn any books. I didn't see it.
Okay. While you think about that, then the books that you're going to burn free, what is your advice for writing fiction that reads like non-fiction?
For writing fiction that reads like non-fiction.
Uh-huh. Yes. Mm.
That's a tough one. Why would fiction read? Well, I guess there are some, I don't want to name names. There are some fiction writers out there whose books skirt that boundary between fiction and non-fiction. Well, to write, I guess you would leave a lot of, well, I suppose to write fiction that is like non-fiction, it would, a more loose plot, I suppose, a looser, you wouldn't have as the same kind of strict story arc, I imagine. But maybe do away with some of the dialogue marks and things like that, speech marks, maybe do away with some of those. Employ more free indirect speech, that sort of thing. But quite why people would want to write fiction that's like non-fiction, I'm not quite sure. But should they want to, then maybe those are they can employ some of those devices.
Remy is the one who asked about the burning books.
Max Lobe is my only device. Yeah. Okay. Do we see any more questions? I don't see.
Yeah, about the burning books, you did not answer that.
Oh, because I don't want to burn books. I don't want to burn books.
Remy,
I don't want to burn. Sorry?
I'm telling Remy that he's got it.
I don't want to, maybe political propaganda. I would burn those. Political propaganda books. I would burn those. I would find 3 good ones, maybe burn those, if I really must burn books. Because even the ones you don't like, can be used as, it can be another level on your steps, on your stairway. They can be put to use, even if you don't read them. Yeah, you can put your tray on them. They can double as tables. So the books are always useful.
You are so kind. Right, everybody is getting all, I mean, like Lola is like, I put my leg on Max, Remy, and Troy. I want to be the first literary cougar polyandrist.
Oh, okay, somebody asked the question, which books from? Some questions are flying away. Some questions are flying. Frankie asked the question, but I can't see it.
Right.
Frankie asked the question, but I can't see it.
I can't see it. But dinner with free writers.
Sorry?
Dinner with free writers. Who will it be?
Okay, dinner with, Frankie, Chike Frankie Edozian. He dances up a storm. You know, it's difficult to keep up with him on the dance floor. He'd be great. Aminata Fauna. Yes. And Zuki Zwavana.
Ah, Zuki is everywhere on an island at dinner.
Yes.
Molara, tell us about your feminist women that you really admire, because I have this library called 1949, which was a year women in Côte d'Ivoire march against the colonizers, and I am trying to feature a lot of feminists from Africa and the Black world that we may not know. So apart from Fumilayo Ransom Kuti, whom some of us know in this part of the world, who do we need to know?
Yeah, I think.
And why?
That, okay. In the First Republic, we had the wife of one of the premiers, that the premier of the Western region, his wife, Fadirera Akintola, that would be someone that I would have liked to read about, to learn more about. And I have a lot of respect for women. The fact that this lady, her husband was assassinated, what was it, 1966? And then she lived until less than 10 years ago. She lived for another 40 years or so after he passed away. And in dignity, in upholding values that she believed in. So I think that there are a lot of unsung African feminists like that. They may not have called it feminism, if you know what I mean. They may not have called it feminism, but there are a lot of feminist lessons to be drawn from their lives. And also even the fortitude, the strength, being stoic in whatever life threw at them. I think that that is something that we can look at. Two other ones. Well, I think that someone like Kadria Ahmed is a good feminist example, and also someone who shatters stereotype in so many ways, not just as a woman, but also as another. When you think about northern Nigeria and the southern part of Nigeria, a lot of stereotypes that people have about women from the north, mostly unjustified. But this is someone that doesn't conform to any of those stereotypes, and it must take a lot of resolute stance to be like that, and a lot of courage and presence of mind, and that's worth emulating. I would also say Lola remind me, our poet friend in the US, our poet friend in the US, the poet,
Lola, can you help?
There are lots of people.
Okay.
There are lots of people. It's just that, I'm caught. Yeah, I'm caught unawares, yeah.
Okay. I am aware that time is flying by. BC asks, how has COVID-19 affected you?
I'll give you a third name, Chris Anyanwu. Chris Anyanwu. Yeah, a journalist who was actually jailed during the Abacha regime. She was in jail for a number of years. Yeah, that would be, and she was a trailblazer on television in Nigeria, a broadcaster, and then also part of the struggle for democracy in Nigeria. I would choose Kudirat Abiola. Abiola. Yes, Kudirat Abiola. If Kudirat Abiola had lived, I would have gladly voted for her. She was amazing.
Superb. So now they are bringing all the good questions. COVID-19 affected you as
somebody is asking for my son.
Yeah, I'm not gonna
look
at that. It is Remy. Forget
Don't
Remy.
mind him.
I'm not gonna mind him. Because Lola is asking you, how important is it to label yourself as a feminist in today's world? And BC wants to know how COVID-19 has affected your work as an editor.
Okay. Lola asks, how important is it for me to label myself a feminist? I think that I've always been a feminist. I've not always identified as that. I needed to come to a place of enlightenment. I needed to come to certain positions about life and the things that life throws at you, I needed to grow, basically. And so, but I think right from my younger days, I'd always paid particular attention to the condition of women and how things should be, and so on and so forth. Why isn't it important to label? I don't know. I'm just it's what I am. It's what I am, and I own it with pride, because also where it is in a society where people like to talk about feminism or call you feminist almost like a derogation. So to own it with pride is actually it's an activist an activist thing to do, to own it with pride, because you're throwing that back in their face, like, no, actually this is a positive, and I'm committed to this, and I'm committed to this. Yes.
And what was that? COVID-19 as an editor?
COVID-19, I was talking earlier about how even with the podcast, I needed to be gingered back on the tracks about it. COVID-19 really, really affected me, because I went through several weeks where I couldn't really function. I couldn't create. I couldn't do much but the bare minimum and just get by, because I think that I am an empath. And I think that I had, stressed out so much about it. And I'm someone who loves solitude. But this time it was different. And also because of the enforced separation from loved ones and so on and so forth. So just checking the news from it affected everything, really. It affected everything. But we're trying to find the rhythm again. And so we're back on track.
Okay. I'm aware that if we do not bring this to a close very soon, Instagram will kick us out. Everybody is asking you to come to their parts of the world. They want you to bring your wisdom. What am I saying here? Your wisdom and what again? Your wisdom, your goodness, and all around awesomeness to Ghana, to South Africa, and of course, I am also inviting you to Abidjan, to Cote d'Ivoire. We need you, Molara.
I'd love to come to Abidjan. I would love to come to Abidjan.
When borders open. This has been so great. I have, since 2014, I have dreamt of this exchange. I never thought it will happen, and it has. And thank you so much. Thank you to Lola. Thank you to Zukiswa.
See you soon. You can hug. Thank you.
Do not forget to save on IGTV.
Okay. Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Thanks.